Welcome everyone. We at the Hinduja Foundation have always been at the forefront of creating value through our charitable ventures. We are very privileged to have esteemed partners and associates who care about the community and who bring a lot of value to the small contributions that the Hinduja Foundation does compared to what the actual needs are in the country. Today we are privileged to have Dr. V. Mohan, the chairman of the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. Dr. Mohan comes with 4 decades of legacy. He is one of the doyens of diabetology in India, who has created a lot of value for diabetic children, especially because we at the Indian Foundation have been interacting with him for our type 1 diabetes project. But Dr. Mohan has created a lot of value for diabetics, not just in India, but across the world. His research has created many solutions that have helped diabetic patients and diabetologists, not just in India, but across the world. He is a respected clinician and a respected researcher and one of the most widely awarded diabetologists in India. He is a recipient of the Padma Shri Award, and without much ado, let's speak to Dr. Mohan and see what sort of insights we can glean from him for the future of diabetology in India. Welcome, Dr. Mohan. We have been associated for the past 3-4 years, for me at least personally, and this project is now 6 years old. And I have always been wondering what was the moment, where you thought that your father's legacy could now be established into a chain of specialty diabetology clinics.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish Mendhi, for those kind words of introduction and also for having me on this program. First of all, I would like to thank you, Mr. Dheeraj Hinduja and the Hinduja Foundation for the yeoman service that you are doing. Very few foundations in India have come forward to support the cause of type 1 diabetes, and hundreds of children in Chennai, in Pune and in Mumbai and now in other cities as well are benefiting through your program. Coming to your question, when did we decide to branch out to different parts of the country? The first 20 years of my life, I had a very unique experience of assisting my father, the renowned professor of diabetology and perhaps the first diabetologist in India, is widely regarded as the father of diabetology in India, Professor M. Vishwanathan. He started the first diabetic clinic in India at the Stanley Medical College here in Chennai. So I joined him when I was 18 years old, at a time when he left Stanley and he wanted to do something privately. And for the first 20 years, we were actually building the first private diabetic clinic, first private diabetes hospital, so I first 10 years as a student working, doing my MBBS and MD, and later on as a full-time consultant I worked with him. But after about 20 years with him, I realized that there's so much more to be done, and so I branched out and came to his center was in North Madras, one end of Chennai. The city was meanwhile growing towards the south of Chennai. So my late wife, Dr. Rama, who was an ophthalmologist, and I then decided, why not we set up something in South Madras. Of course, we had no idea that at that time we are going to start branches and chains of diabetes centers. All that came later. In fact, when we started, we had no funding at all. So we started in a few small rooms in a rented premises in Roypeta High Road. But then we were there at the right time, at the right place, with the right knowledge. Everything was right at that time, and therefore with God's grace, quickly the clinic started growing. So we took first one floor, then another floor, then we had to get another building nearby, renting everything, of course. Then we realized that this is not going to work, why not we build our own hospital. So we bought a plot of land, and that is where we are now, here in Gopalapuram, and we built a hospital which was quite big at that time, 6 floors, and so we thought that that was the end of it, and we thought, okay, now we have our own building and we have a huge building for diabetes. Little did we realize that we'll grow out of space very quickly. And so then we started first exploring the possibility of buying the land to the left and to the right and opposite and behind, and every piece of land that we could get, we acquired. But even that was not enough, and the number of patients were increasing. Then we thought, why don't we start branches? Now, the concept of branches is a little different, because normally when a doctor has his own practice, he thinks about or she thinks about how to develop your own practice, which means you are needed in that particular place. I realize that whatever the number of patients that I see, how many can I see in a day? I can see 20, 30, 40. Beyond that, I will get tired, the quality will go down. What if I needed to see 500 patients or 1000 patients a day? It's not possible for me to sit and do. So then we thought, okay, why don't we start a training program where we transfer the knowledge that we have as a legacy to my students and trainees who are physicians, who then become diabetologists, and then they can work for me. Some of them will go off on their own and start their own clinics, that's fine. But those who choose to be with me, then we can give them different branches. So we tried our first experiment in Chennai itself, in Anna Nagar. So my father's place was in North Madras, we were in South Madras, east was the sea. So we went to West Madras, to Anna Nagar, and set up a fairly big center there. That did really well, even without my going there. Then I realized that, oh, I am not really needed, as long as I set the systems in order. And then at that time we went for ISO 9000 certification, which nobody had gone for in the country. So we said, okay, if we have SOPs, standard operating procedures, train our doctors well, have good computer systems, maybe it's possible to grow. So we tried our first branch at Hyderabad, outside Chennai. That worked very well. The rest, as I say, is history. Now we are in 50 branches we have in 32 cities and 8 states of India. For some time we even tried one center in Muscat. For a few years it was there, then we found it was too challenging to go all the way for having one center in the Middle East. Unless you have a chain of centers there, doesn't make sense. So we started focusing on India. Most of our centers are in the 5 southern states of India: Puducherry, Orissa and West Bengal. So that's where we are now. And now we have taken a pause for the last year or two. We have not started any new branches, but we are in the consolidation phase. But after a year or two, we have plans to expand to other cities, as well as to increase the number of branches. Of course, the whole setup is not, as you know, just clinics, and they are not franchises. They are all owned by us. The whole system operates under our direct control. But what is set as completely unique from other institutions is our research work, and that's where the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, MDRF, comes in. From day one, from the time I was 18 years old, research was my passion, because we realized that today's research is tomorrow's practice. So everything that we do in research has a meaning. It's not just to publish a paper, but to see how can we improve the lives of, in this case, children or adults with type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes. And that is how our research work has gone from one to another, and this research work has been very well recognized. But even before I started my research center, the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation came only in 1996, whereas our Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center came in 1991. So for 5 years I was just building the clinics, and then I had to build MDRF, and then now MDRF is in 4 locations, and we have a huge 35,000 square feet, 6.5 acre campus in Siruseri in the outskirts of Chennai, which you also visited. So that is on one side. But from day one, even before 1991, when we started and we had nothing, my wife and I decided, let's start doing charity. Because if we don't do charity, the tendency is to develop greed, because you always want more and more income, more fame, more money, more this. So that's a never ending, it's a deep well into which you fall, and then it's a trap. You want more, and you don't want to give back. So in 1991, when we started Dr. Mohan Center, we started a trust called Direct, and we said, in a small little way, let us start doing free service, especially to children who cannot afford it. So long before the Hinduja Foundation supported us, and before that we had a GKR Charities from Mumbai which had supported us, and some other organizations also had supported us. But even before that, from our own salary, from our own profits of the hospital, we used to keep a percentage for treating poor patients. Today I am happy to tell you that of course your support is one of the largest support that we have for children with type 1 diabetes, but inspired by you, many other organizations have also started saying, okay, if you are supporting 300 children with type 1 diabetes, so somebody will come and say, can we take on 5 children, 10 children, 1 child, somebody wants to do something because they are happy with their services, and they or they have a child with type 1 diabetes, and then they say, why don't we also contribute to that? I think this is a very good thing because everyone wins in this. See, the donor is very happy because the donor has given something to support. The patient is very happy because the patient is getting everything free. For us, we are able to treat more people, otherwise they would not have come into the system, or we'll have to start spending on them, and we have limited resources which we can do. So this kind of a model where charity supports the treatment of children with type 1 diabetes is something very new and something which we are seeing. You mentioned 6 years we've been working on this. Over a 6-year period, we have seen the HbA1c, the 3 months control of these children, coming down and improving better and better. Now they are almost in the normal stage now. Similarly, these children who are not growing have now started growing. They have started putting on height and weight, and their general health has improved, their mental well-being has improved. Some of them have gone on to become extraordinary success. 2 of them are becoming doctors now. They are doing medicine. Some of them are doing law, some are doing engineering, some are doing CA, some have become top cricketers and other sportsmen. Some took some traditional martial arts kind of a thing. So the success stories are so many, and all this came because they felt that Hinduja Foundation cares for them and our institution cares for them. So we are very, very happy that we have made significant improvements in the quality of life and the life of these children.
Amazing, Dr. Mohan. To bring together commercial as well as charitable, aspects in clinical treatment and in research is indeed commendable. Would you be able to, share with us what sort of challenges you faced from a logistical perspective? Of course, fundraising is a major challenge, and we are all aware about it. But from getting the right partners to agree to your vision of, the Robin Hood way of, making things happen. So, what are those challenges that youngsters should, be ready to face and prepare themselves in order to apply this Robin Hood method in a larger way, or in their own small way at different locations?
Thank you for that question. I think you put it very nicely with the Robin Hood principle. So, rob from someone, or borrow from someone, or get donation from someone in this particular instance, and then give it to somebody else who is deserving. This model is not new because you take, let's say, the Gates Foundation. I remember listening to a interview with Bill Gates, where one of the journalists asked him, Mr. Gates, I find a great contradiction here. On one side you run Microsoft, and then you want to make billions and billions of dollars, and you're growing that company, and you want to make a lot of money. And then on the other hand, you create a Gates Foundation where you're giving away billions of dollars. This is some kind of a dichotomy. Is your brain having some kind of dichotomy? On one side you want to, earn. On the other side you want to give. So what Bill Gates said actually had a great effect on me. He said, see, if I want to do charity, I need money. If I don't have money, how will I do charity? Okay. Now, there are two different things. One is business. And when you're doing business, you have to do it the proper way. Because if you don't do business the proper way, you will go into losses. And then the institution, the company itself will close. So, when I'm wearing the cap of businessman and running Microsoft, I will do that to my perfection because I want to get every dollar that I can get. Now, the other side of me wants to give back to society because from society I came, and to society therefore I have to give back. That's why I have the Gates Foundation. Now there it is totally charity. I'm not going to look for return on investment. I just have to ensure that the money is spent properly and people are benefited. That's the only return on investment. I'm not looking for material benefit from there or money from there. So the same model works here. When we run our hospital, now you mentioned a challenge. Now one of the challenges is that patients come and pay, okay, in when they come to Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center, it's a private limited company. So, and we have to be profitable, because if you're not profitable, we cannot grow, we cannot get new equipment, we cannot increase the salaries of our staff, we cannot start new branches. So that has to be profitable. So when we run that institution, we look at it like Bill Gates does, as how do we maximize the profit. There is one difference, however. See, when you are an entrepreneur, I have seen entrepreneurs who don't have a heart. So you, by hook or by crook, you have to make it. For us, as written in my autobiography, the best chapter in my autobiography is a chapter called Combining Entrepreneurship with two more E's, and that is ethics and empathy. So when you have these three, entrepreneurship combined with empathy and ethics, your work becomes divine. It's no longer I'm making this a profitable industry, because you're doing it ethically and you're doing it with empathy. So you'll never cheat anybody. You'll always have that soft corner for somebody who is not able to pay and so on. Not treat them like a commodity which you can squeeze and make as much money as possible. That's what the usual commercial world does, including many medical organizations run by non-doctors and even run by some doctors. They do that. For us, from the beginning, we said, that's why we started charity even before we started research foundation. So we said giving back is very important, because after all we have got from society. But there comes a dichotomy. When somebody is coming to our center and paying for their services, now when we say we have got a charity, they say, but I paid for everything. What charity are you doing? So that's the first challenge. Suppose I had set up the whole thing as a charity, then that would have been easier. They'll say, this is a charitable institution. Now the reason we didn't do that was because charitable institutions can only survive on donations. And suppose this donation don't come, the institution will close. And you have to be very good in fundraising to keep it going. Okay? Of course, you don't pay tax if you're a charitable institution. Here you pay tax. But if you want a bank loan, now suppose you want to expand and you want a bank loan, as a charity you will not get that. So here I have the option, yes, as a private limited company, I can take a loan, I can pay it back, I can grow, I can make profits, I pay my taxes, but then I've still got some money left which I can use as I want. Nobody is going to, it's a private limited company. So nobody can question me if I say, I want to use this for charity, I want to use this money for research. So that gives me the flexibility. So the research comes through the trust as well as through the research foundation. Because MDRF, Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, is a 100% non-profit organization. It is recognized by the Government of India, Department of Science and Technology, and by DSIR. So under that, it's a foundation. So being a foundation, it cannot have any commercial activity. So we cannot say part of the income will go into that. No. Somebody can donate, we can raise donations, we can ask for grants, we can apply for research grants, Indian, international, whatever, all those it is allowed. But we cannot do any commercial activity. That means to keep MDRF growing, we need donors. And that's where like the Hinduja Foundation, others come in, purely only on those donations, the salaries, the infrastructural costs, the air conditioning costs, the rentals, everything has to be come through donations. So that is one model that we have followed. Now it's difficult for people to understand this, because either people do that or they do this. So if they are running a big corporate industry, for example, at one stage, to share with you, at one stage for growth, when we grew from 12 branches to 50 branches, how did we do that? People told us, you can't keep on borrowing from the bank all the time, pay it back, then take another loan, then pay it back, then take another loan, take it back. They said, if you really want to grow, the only way to do it is through private equity. So that's what, after a lot of discussions, people convinced us that that's the best way to do. So we took private equity money. As you see, you're not obliged to immediately pay it back, and you've got time, and then you can grow, and they will also give you ideas, and they are business people, so they'll be able to bring in new ideas, new partners, and that's how you grow. Well, all that is correct, but then fundamentally our philosophy in the treatment, our philosophy to life was a little different from the private equity one. I have no I have no qualms about that. I don't blame them for that. They're doing their business. They have invested, they have to get their money. But the moment we got the private equity investment, we realized we made a mistake, because they then drive you
to do things. And in that process of driving, you may lose the other two, the ethics and the empathy part. Because then they'll say, what ethics and what empathy? You have to make money first, Don't worry too much about ethics and empathy. That's what they'll tell you. Now for us, that's a no-no. Because without ethics and empathy, I am in a noble profession. I'm not running a food chain. I'm not running a Marks and Spencer franchisee. I'm not running something else which is pure commercial. I'm dealing with human beings. And we have to have a heart. We have to have a soul. And we cannot, shut our soul out completely. So right from the beginning, we realized we made a mistake. Now, how to get rid of them? It's not easy. They have given you money and they expect returns. It was tough. It was not at all easy. And I don't think anyone in India has done it. Somebody has taken money from private equity and then bought them back and then pay them huge sum of money, and then that means whatever you have earned will go and paying them back. On top of that, we have to take 2 separate big loans from banks to pay them off. That's the best decision we ever did. Because today we are on our own. We can get back to our charity, can get back to our research, we can do what we want, we can grow at the pace we want. Otherwise they'll say, start 10 branches this year, and you have to find 10 doctors. If you don't find 10 doctors who are good, you will find 5 who are good and 5 who are bad. Because you have to start 10. Then your quality starts going down. And not all of them are going to be ethical, the doctors whom you take. For us, our standards are set very, very high. If we find that in a particular branch, a doctor is not ethical, we may either send away the doctor or close the branch. Because it's a no-no for us. There's no compromise on that at all. That's our ethics, and our integrity is so high, and we are respected for that, that there is no question of doing hanky-panky things, there's no question of cheating somebody. I'll give you an example. You know about pumps, okay? There was a patient who, and a pump is a costly thing. So if I'm able to sell a pump to somebody, we're giving pumps free, as you know, and you're giving pumps free, that's a different thing. But if I sell a pump, I make a lot of money, okay? Because a lot of 5-6 lakhs of rupees, and you can get that income in. Now, there was a patient who came from Malaysia, and I remember very distinctly, I've written about this in my autobiography. He came and he said, Dr. Mohan, I've come for the pump. So I looked at his history. He's on tablets. He's a type 2 patient. He's on tablets, very well controlled. His HbA1c is normal. He's just on metformin, beautifully controlled. Now, pump is to give insulin. He doesn't need insulin first, okay? So I told him, sir, you don't need insulin. Leave alone pump. You don't even need insulin. He said, no, but I have come for pump. I said, you may have come for pump, but you don't need it. And I don't know how to give it to you. Since you're not on insulin, you're just on metformin. How much insulin will I give you? And why should you take insulin? It's the wrong treatment for you, He got angry. He said, I've come all the way from Malaysia for this. And you better give me a pump. I said, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot give you the pump. Now imagine, this is the time when we had the private equity people with us. And they were telling me, are you an idiot? He's asking you for the pump. Where is ethics here? He's asking you pump, you sell it to him. I said, no, sir. There is an ethics here. He doesn't need the pump. So it's my duty to tell him that he doesn't need the pump. Even if I lose the pump, it is very important to do that. Now, very few will do that. Now, that's where your ethics is tested, and that's where your thing. That's where I think we come out as being different. And that's why after getting rid of the private equity people, now I don't have to sell that pump if I don't need it. I'm not forced to sell a pump. Right. Otherwise, they'll ask me, how many pumps did you sell this month? What is your score this month? Everything gets reduced to a number and to a something which you deliver, and how much money did you bring in. So what will happen when you do that is, patient walks in. Okay, your whole idea is, how much can I fleece from this guy? He's wearing a Rolex watch, so maybe I'll get 1 lakh from him, or something I'll get. Your whole idea, you're treating him like some commodity or somebody, not like a human being. Now, when that is taken out from your mind, then as a doctor, I'll be saying, how can I help this man? His sugar is not under control. How do I help him? How do I improve his quality of life? How do I make his life better? And how do I touch the life of him and his family? That's what you think about. Now, that's how the old doctors used to treat. And that's why the doctors are treated with a lot of respect. Today, the majority of doctors are thinking, how many more endoscopies can I do? How many more stents can I put in? How many can I do this, do that? Whether it's needed or not is a difference. Needed, that's fine. When it's not even needed, frightening somebody and then putting this is why the profession loses its sheen. It loses its completely. Nobody then respects you anymore. That guy is then looking at you like an animal, You're not treated like a human being at all. That is something which I think is a message for junior doctors and so on. Make your money, become rich, because only like Bill Gates, only then you can also give, and you can also give back to charity. But never cheat somebody. If that is so, you're in the wrong profession. You shouldn't be here at all.
Wow, that's a lot of food for thought for not only ophthalmologists but all clinicians as to how they have to upskill to stay relevant in the age of the AI. Coming to type 1 diabetes, Dr. Mohan, we have been active for the past 6 years. You, of course, have built an empire of research and charitable work in the type 1 diabetes. Clearly, what we have always come to the conclusion that the government needs to play a major role to ensure that the type 1 diabetics get their right, get their supplies as a right. Yes. And we have been at your end, at our end, we have been trying to have a lot of discussions, and some of them have yielded results. Yeah. Like recently, schools have started allowing, yes, type 1 diabetics. The boards are now allowing type 1 diabetics to carry kits and some food snacks for the exams. But these are small wins. What can the private sector do to ensure that their participation and brings in more participation, more commitments from government, so that there is a foolproof way in India? Because abroad, overseas, there are this problem is recognized. Yeah. But what we have noticed and what you have brought to our notice is we are in the midst of a diabetic epidemic in India. Of course, type 1 diabetic will always stay under the radar. So what can be done by the private sector to ensure that the government accelerates their thoughts and actions so that the type 1 diabetics are better protected?
You're quite right that when you have 95%, 98% of patients having type 2 diabetes, which is a lifestyle related disease, diet, exercise, tablets, insulin rarely needed, and where a lot of the effort has to come from the individual. Individual has to follow the diet, sleep on time, exercise, take medicines, go for checkup. That's all is needed for type 2. Type 1 is a completely different disease, as you know, because they need insulin, period. Now, if you don't give them insulin, they will die. And as you said, it's a fundamental right. You can't tell a human being, I won't give you water, I won't give you oxygen, I won't give you food, or I won't give you insulin, Because insulin is like food, water, oxygen. So, if you don't have insulin in a type 1 child or adult, that person will die, 100% will die. So, now the question arises, WHO has also said that nobody in the world should go without insulin if it is type 1, and we should ensure that every single human being with type 1 diabetes in the world has access to insulin. So, that's the first thing. Now, before we go to advanced technologies and so on, the first thing is to ensure that everybody has insulin. Okay. Now, while insulin is given free by the government, and many of the governments actually give good quality insulins and all that, it's not uniform across the country. Some states will do better. So, some of the southern states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, the health care, public health care through the government, Goa, Sikkim, Punjab, there are a few examples of states which are doing exceptionally well. But there are others where still we lack awareness about it. Children may still be dying because of lack of insulin, lack of diagnosis first. Child goes into a coma, nobody thinks about type 1 diabetes. They think it's meningitis or encephalitis or something. The child may be having diabetic coma. So, first thing the public sector can do is to increase awareness. What is this type 1? How does it present? That it can come in children. Now, in a child present somewhere, the last thing that they think about is that it's having type 1 diabetes. I think children don't get diabetes. Adults only get diabetes. So, that awareness to be increased. Then this goes to NGOs, corporates, government, anywhere, public, through service organizations like Rotary, Lions. Everybody must be sensitized about this problem of type 1 diabetes. Once we sensitize people, then let us say there are, close to, I don't know, 1 million children in India with type 1 diabetes, putting a number. We really don't even know how many there are. They say 800,000, some say it's only 250,000. The numbers itself vary so grossly. But put whatever number you want, okay, 500,000, let's say. Now, those 500,000 children or adults with type 1 diabetes, unless you give them continuous supply of insulin, they're going to die. So, how do you give the insulin? What insulins do you give? How do you make sure that nobody dies because of lack of availability, affordability, accessibility to insulin is a very important thing. Now, while we are talking about insulin itself, short acting, long acting, there are different types of insulin. There are the old insulins, then there are the more modern ones, and there are the ultra modern, long acting, basal analogs, and so on, which are much more expensive. So, I think as far as possible, the best insulins should be given to everyone. Why should we distinguish and say rich people will get better insulin, poor people will get some, cheaper insulin? That should not be there. In an equitable world, I think everybody should be able to get the best insulin. Now comes the other technology. Earlier we used to poke and then check the blood sugar. You need a glucose meter, you need strips. Every time you check the sugar, you have to poke, which means there's a pain there. Already insulin injection. Now you have to poke. Every time you poke, blood has to come, then chance of infection. Strips are not cheap, strips are very expensive. So they'll stop checking because, if I check 4 times a day, 100 rupees gone, or something like that. So they'll check only once a day or once in 3 days. That's not enough. You really need much more monitoring to be done. These so-called glucometers and blood glucose monitoring machines are slowly being replaced in the West by continuous glucose monitoring systems. You just wear a patch, and the patch, without even drawing blood, tells you what is the glucose level throughout the day and night. Every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it will record your glucose and give you graphs, which you can never get by poking. Now, these have become standard of care. So now if you take countries like UK, Denmark, Germany, Sweden, anybody who has type 1 diabetes, in fact to everyone with diabetes itself, they're giving these sensors free of cost, saying it's part of your treatment, so you have to take it, you deserve to get that. So they are doing that. In India, you have to pay for it. So I don't know of anyone who's actually giving this out free. Of course, in the charitable way mode which you are supporting, we do give free CGMs to our children. But it's like a drop in the ocean compared to the number of children with type 1 diabetes. So at some point, we are spending so much of money on so many programs. We have a limited number of children with type 1 diabetes. 500,000 is not a very big amount if you divide it by 31 states, and then central government's funding. If you set apart a sum of money, we can ensure that every child can get continuous glucose monitoring without even paying for it. Next level beyond that, because the continuous glucose monitoring only tells you the glucose levels, it doesn't help to control the glucose level. Then you go to the insulin pumps. Now, the insulin pumps have had a long history. From the initial pumps, we just delivered the insulin. It didn't measure the glucose. Even if the patient, we used to joke and say, even if the patient is dead, it will keep on giving insulin because it's been instructed to give insulin, it will give insulin. Sugar may go low, it will still continue to give insulin. That's how the pumps used to be. Then the next level pumps came, where if the sugar goes low, it will at least stop giving the insulin. Suspend pump, we used to call it. At least it won't go low. Okay, so that started coming. Today we have near artificial pancreas. We call it as a closed loop hybrid artificial insulin, automated insulin pumps. In these, what the pump does is, the pump has a sensor built in. So just like a CGM sensor, that kind of sensor is already there in the pump. The pump will be checking the glucose level every minute and then seeing what is the trend. Is it going up? Is it going down? If it's going up, it will keep giving the insulin. Then if it starts stabilizing, it will ease off. If it's going down, it will completely stop giving the insulin and then allow the sugar to come up. So it can do it in real time. 2-3 minutes, it will be checking. So it can't make a mistake. It's completely AI driven. And therefore, we have got hundreds of patients now on this pump. Very, very rarely, if at all, it has gone wrong. Which means you can trust it. And even better than a human being doing it, you can trust it. Because no human being can keep checking a blood sugar every minute. You will go crazy if every minute you are only thinking about glucose. You will go crazy. Whereas a machine doesn't go crazy. So therefore, the machine can check that and do that. Now, after these, the latest pumps have come, the artificially intelligence included pumps have come. there has been a sea change in the treatment of children with diabetes and type 1 diabetes and adults with type 1 diabetes. We are getting glucose levels, HbA1c levels which are never seen before, almost normal, like a non-diabetic. And the best thing is no low sugars at all, no hypos at all. Earlier they'll be scared. The sugar comes down, I'll get low sugar, I'll get fits, I'll get this, completely gone, you know. Now the thing is, these are expensive. They cost a few lakhs of rupees. Then there's a monthly cost of about 20,000 rupees. How do we keep giving this, and how do we make this available to, let's say, 500,000 children with type 1 diabetes? If you multiply 500,000 with the cost, it's quite a lot of money. But if you think about the resources available in India, if you think of the number of businessmen in India who can afford it, I think if we join together, if we can send a rocket, Chandrayaan, to the moon, and that too to the south pole of the moon, and so on, India has the technology to do it. First of all, probably these are so expensive because they're imported. If our engineers are able to make it cheap, let's say for 1/10 of the cost or 1/5 of the cost, then 5 times more number of people can afford it. So Indian technology is in no way inferior to others, so they can make their own pumps, they can make it equally good and much less expensive. So I think that's where we should be putting our effort, so that it becomes affordable, and then each government can take, let's say Tamil Nadu government, Kerala government, Maharashtra government, Bengal government, whichever government is there, suppose they have 10,000 children, 20,000 children, whatever they have. To all of them they can give the pump free and monitor that through some mechanism, just like they pick up their, through the public distribution system, getting the food, rations. They can get their insulin, they can get their pumps, they can get their supplies. That way, every child is covered. In the UK, now they have started giving these pumps, these advanced pumps, to everyone with type 1 diabetes. Every single. There is no racial discrimination. Oh, you're South Asian, you won't get, or if you're black, you won't get. All that has been taken care of by my colleague, Dr. Kar, who has, Partha Kar, who has done so much of work there to see that equality comes in. And the last 5 years, he has changed everything in the UK. So now every person is able to get the pump. Now you may say, well, the numbers are much smaller, that's only equal to Tamil Nadu state, UK is just equal to Tamil Nadu state. That's right. But we also have resources, no? We also have resources, we have rich people, we have businessmen, we have NGOs, we have government, we have, I think if we all come together, we can solve this problem. Of course, the next stage is, can we cure diabetes? Can we produce stem cells, and can we produce research in that? If that money is spent in that, can we produce beta cells which can be injected into the child and produce a total cure of the child's diabetes? That will be the next stage. But what is low-hanging fruit, what is available now, is the pump, which is giving a near normal glucose level. There is also another thing which has come recently for type 1s, and that is, if you pick them up in the pre-diabetic kind of stage, before they develop type 1 diabetes, the antibodies will be positive, glucose will be normal, and within 6 months to 1 year they can. There is a drug which if you give, it will prevent diabetes for some time. But the problem is two. Number one, it only prevents it for 1 or 2 years. After that, the child will get the diabetes. Although they say that it may be slightly milder because you're given this treatment. Number two, this treatment is so expensive. It's more than 1 crore of rupees, and for delaying for 2 years. So, considering that you have such large numbers that people cannot even afford to pay insulin, to delay by 1 year or 2 years, spending 1 crore of rupees for that is not yet available. But what if you had a cheaper alternative? You paid only 10,000, 20,000, and now you're able to prevent diabetes, not 1 year but 5 years. That makes a huge difference. So research into that. How do you find cheaper molecules which are friendly for Indian customer, which can prevent diabetes? So on one side prevention, one side treatment, on one side cure. All these research is going on, but in India, not yet. We have not got to that. This needs huge funding. These are not like 1 crore will do or 5 crores will do. Huge investments have to go in. The best scientists in the country, from Indian Institute of Science or IITs and clinicians like us, MDRF, all joining together for the common goal. See, how did the Chandrayaan mission think? They all came together and they said, we have this one goal. We must put Just now our astronaut has gone into space and he has come back. The first Indian who has gone and come back. Now we may do it ourselves. We don't need US to do it for us. We can do it ourselves. If we can do these big things, rocket science, this is much smaller. And therefore, I think we have the wherewithal in the country. But as you said, awareness, we have not got our act together. And when we talk to the government, they say, well, you're so bothered about type 1 diabetes because that's your area. We have got sickle cell disease, we have got typhoid, we have got malaria, we have got TB, which is also killing a lot of people. That's also important for us. So we can't just give all the funds for type 1 diabetes. We have got all these diseases to be cured, and they are, within 1 year we can cure them because they are a treatable disease. It's an infectious agent. If you treat it, you can get rid of it. So we are completely curing the disease. So why don't we put resources there? Yes, agreed. This is not the only disease important, but this is also important. No? If you don't give insulin, child will die, and that's something which is a fundamental right, as you said. I think we have to all come together and work.
That is an amazing insight, and I'm sure youngsters like us would want to, replicate the ethical success that you have achieved, and will be able to stick to it given your motivational words. While I was also, we've been interacting, but yesterday I got to see for, with my own eyes, your emphasis on research. So I have two-part question here. You have often told me that you wanted to be a writer, and you now are writing medical papers to fulfill that ambition. So the world is luckier. Instead of fantasy, we get factual research papers from you, and many have benefited out of that. So what apart from what makes it motivational, I saw that there are a lot of opportunities to commercialize the research that you're doing, whether it is from nutrition or is it from the products that are being developed. Do you have plans to commercialize? Is part one. And the second part is, how much of AI are we planning to deploy to accelerate the goal for commercialization, if there is?
So yeah, thank you for those questions. I think both are very good. I think the true Dr. Mashelkar, the famous scientist, always used to say that knowledge should lead to wealth, because wealth creation, wealth generation, because otherwise you just create and publish a paper and then it's good, but you're not getting anything out of that. And for sustainability of the research also, getting some commercial successes are also good. To be honest, we have been more successful in publications, making changes, in interacting with the community, preventing diabetes and empowering communities. All those have been our great strengths. Changing the practice, because the way we approach something, tomorrow it gets applied into practice. All that we have done very successfully. Our attempts to commercialize products and so on, we have not been terribly successful. At one time we produced a rice in collaboration with an agriculturist. We came up with a high fiber, low glycemic index rice. That was a very great discovery, and for about 4 or 5 years we were actually producing the rice and then marketing it, and it was good while it lasted. Where we went wrong was in two things. Number one, scaling that up, we were not very successful. Whatever came, a few tons would come and then we would sell it. So simultaneously developing it into hundreds of tons or thousands of tons of that rice, we were not able to do, because we are doing our clinical work, research work. On top of all that, doing this was not thing. The market, we were able to take it to some supermarkets and stores and a few things, but within the cities which we operated in, we are not able to make it all India. And we talked to a few big players, but for them it was too small a business. They wanted real big scale, thousands of crores, and that kind of a thing we did not have. So that is one thing which we had. Then finally we gave up the product because it started mutating. As we started growing it, after 3-4 years, we found that the fiber content was going down, and it was mutating, and that is no longer a very low glycemic index. Glycemic index started going up. So that's where the ethics comes in. So we stopped. We said no, this till we find another product. We have disbanding this completely. Then we switched to brown rice. So brown rice is just the ordinary unpolished rice. We go to the farmers and then tell them, don't polish your rice, give it to us like that. And so brown rice we are still selling, but that's not our product or creation or anything like that. And again, it's a very limited place. You would have seen that millet based products and various ready to eat snacks. There is a food and food technology division which Dr. Shobana of our research division, food nutrition technology research, she has been able to produce a few products, and if some of them we are looking for partners, and if some of them are taken up, we can produce that, give them the formula, and they can scale it up and then do that. So that's something which they've been doing. We have developed certain kits for diagnosis of monogenic diabetes and so on. Those are things which we ourselves developed. We have not unfortunately been able to commercialize it and sell it to many labs and make money out of that. That's probably something which we should be considering for the future. So that's where we are with the commercialization part of it. I think we've still got a long way to go as far as commercial success is concerned. Regarding AI, increasingly the world is being driven by AI. And in the case of diabetes, it is very much true that AI is taking over. One of the areas which we got into quite early and now increasingly being employed across our centers is in reading retinal photographs, because that's one of the easy parts. You train the machine learning and the AI to pick up a diabetic retinopathy, whether it's present or not, and then whether if it is present, it's mild, moderate, severe, whether it needs to be referred to an ophthalmologist. Now, we talked about the 50 centers that we have in 32 cities. We don't have 50 ophthalmologists with us. We have only 5 or 6. Most of them are in Chennai. We have one in Hyderabad, one in Coimbatore. That's the only places where we have. We had one in Bangalore. She's not with us anymore. So that's the number of ophthalmologists we have. Now, every person with diabetes has to have the eye checked. Now, when you don't have an ophthalmologist, how do you do it? So there was a Indian company, Remedio, which made a camera, low-cost camera for retinal, and then the AI got integrated into that. So we did studies comparing the AI report and the ophthalmologist report, and then we found that it's getting better and better, and some 97-98% accuracy we're able to achieve with the AI. Once we achieve that level of accuracy, now we have first started with 2 centers where, so earlier the picture will be taken, sent to Chennai or to Hyderabad, where the ophthalmologist will see the report of the AI, approve it, only then give it to the patient. Now we have reached a stage where we think that that's not needed. So we give the report, whatever AI generated report is there, in 2 of our branches we have tried, without sending it to Chennai, without sending it to ophthalmologist. The report is given to the diabetologist, who just has to look at it and say, okay, this seems fine, and then we give it. So if this really takes off, then all the 50 centers we can do that. It's only a question of scaling up, which means that even without an ophthalmologist, we can now have centers where a dietitian or an educator can take a picture. You don't need a qualified refractionist or a person trained in eye disorders to do this. Anybody, a dietitian, educator, technician, nurse, anybody can take a picture of the thing and then give it, which means that we can now scale it up to anywhere. You go to a village, you can just take the picture, then find out who has retinopathy, who doesn't have retinopathy, we can do that. So that's one area where we're doing. We're also using various apps now. We have developed our own apps. Some apps just give information. Some apps are used for patient care. So the moment the lab does the test report, that comes in the patient's app. Even before it comes to us, it goes directly into the patient's app. They can buy medicines through that and use various things for that. We have got another app using AI where the consultants across the 50 centers. Now, not all diabetes is the same. You have type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes has 4 types. Now, while our junior doctors, some of them will know all this, not everybody may be so proficient in diagnosing diabetes and so on. With AI, the moment you put in the clinical characteristics and the biochemical characteristics, AI will tell you, this is type 2 diabetes, this is the severe insulin deficient type of diabetes of type 2, these drugs will probably work for you. Everything is given to the patient. So with that, to the doctor. So the doctor can then decide which treatment to take. So you can see how AI is slowly beginning to not replace doctors, but reduce the work of the doctors. This can also help in scaling up. So we can see more number of patients because we've got AI coming in. For diagnosis, for treatment, for prediction who will develop complications. For example, if you follow 100 patients for 25 years, all the 100 will not develop complications. Let's say 25 will develop complications. Who are the 25? Can we identify them well in advance? Can AI tell us these are the 25 on whom you should be focusing? Then more attention can be given to them. Maybe tighter control of diabetes and then tighter control of blood pressure, tighter control of lipids and so on in them. Then they also will not develop complications. So these are all some of the situations where AI is being used.
Well, Dr. Mohan, it was an amazing insight into your journey, into your experience, and how I'm hoping that youngsters like us, young clinicians like us, would be able to glean some of your hard work, take advantage of the foundations that you have laid in diabetology, and build on it, and ensure that Indians in general, in midst of this epidemic, are able to address the epidemic much more confidently. What is that single piece of advice that you would offer to an upcoming diabetologist so that he can find the right balance of commercial success and empathetic approach towards this problem that we are facing?
To those of you who are taking diabetology as a specialty, I would say it's a very good choice you have made, because as of now, the numbers of people with diabetes is going to keep on increasing. The first thing you have to do is find out whether the person really has diabetes or not. Sometimes they don't even have diabetes and they are diagnosed. They might have some urine sugar, the blood sugar will be normal, and they'll be diagnosed as diabetic. So first find out whether they have diabetes. Number two, find out what type of diabetes they have. It's more easily said than done. Oh, type 1, type 2. They don't come with type 1 printed on their forehead or type 2 printed on their forehead. You as a clinician has to decide. Sometimes it will be an adult and you'll think it's type 2, but it'll actually be type 1. Sometimes it'll be a child and you think it's type 1, it may not be type 1 at all. You have a condition called neonatal diabetes before 6 months of age. If you diagnose a neonatal diabetes, you can actually stop insulin and give one small tablet. The child will do much better than on insulin. So remember that diabetes is not of one type. There are so many types. So you as a diabetologist, a general physician may not be able to do it, but you as a diabetologist should say, okay, child, they've got diabetes now. Which type is it? Is it type 1, type 2, some other type? Is it MODY? Is it neonatal diabetes, FCPD? Is it gestational diabetes? You find out which type it is. Then within that, is there a subtype within that? Type 2, is it a thin onset thing or is it an obese one? And then do I change my treatment accordingly? So do the necessary tests. Don't hesitate to do the necessary tests because it is all science driven now. So don't just say do on glucose level and then with that, diagnose for life. You're a diabetologist. People have come to you as a last resort. So therefore you make an accurate diagnosis. Then my advice to you would be remain ethical. Take your time. People want to have shortcut and make money, in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time. Anything which goes up fast will come down fast also. So you do it slow and steady. For me, 53 years I've been in this field. I didn't reach here overnight. I didn't have somebody who gave me a lot of money and then with that we did something. It was slow and steady, slow and steady. Your foundation must be very strong. You must earn the trust of people. Once you earn the trust of a person, they will do anything for you. Okay? If you don't have the trust of a person, they're always suspecting you. Why is he asking me to do a scan? Why is he asking me to do this? Maybe he's getting a cut out of it. Maybe he's thinking. Touch wood, in these 53 years of my practice, I have not had a single case against me. And the reason for that, well, many of my colleagues I find they have 50 cases, 100 cases against them, legal cases. I have not had one personally against me. Because I've been totally honest to people, did what was right. When things I could not do, I told them openly, I can't do this. This is all I can do. Being honest, good communication, earn the trust of people. If you do all this, then you don't have to worry at all. The money will come, the fame will come, because once you become good, just like a bee, when it sees honey, it will go get attracted to that. When you find a good doctor, an ethical doctor, a knowledgeable doctor, a doctor who wants to do good to people, you don't have to advertise. You go and sit in a hut, all the patients will come to you. You don't need fancy advertisement, and you don't have to go to television and advertise and put on social media all your credentials. You don't have to do anything. They will come to you. Okay? You be sincere, and keep updating your knowledge, because what you know today, you might have even been trained by me. Okay? Today I finished, you've got a fellowship with me, you have 2 years, you've trained, you learn everything. 3 years later, everything may change. Okay? Unless you keep upskilling yourself, unless you keep updating your knowledge, you will get completely outdated. People will see through that very easily. Now we tell people, don't go to Google, don't do this, don't do that. They will do it, and they're going to come and ask you questions. You also should go to Google, no? You also read what is going on there. It's not only for the public, it's for you also. You read journals, you attend conferences, you attend CMEs, you update your knowledge so that you can share it with the community. So for all those who have taken diabetology, congratulations for choosing this. You can do a lot, because here is one specialty which doesn't have too many emergencies. Even for women it is fine. You can have fixed hours of work, and number of patients is huge. You can improve the quality of life of these people. You can be a teacher, an educator. You can improve the lives of people. You can prevent deaths. You can prevent complications. I just say that if you maintain the ABC principle, get your A1C under control, blood pressure under control, cholesterol under control. If you do this, there will be half of the heart attacks in this country can be avoided. Kidney failure, 80% can be avoided. Neuropathy, blindness, everything 75 to 80% you can completely avoid just by following simple things. So it's a great specialty, but do your job, do it sincerely, be humble, be ethical, be true to your patient, and the rest will be history. My very best wishes to all of you.
Many thanks, Dr. Mohan, for those interesting insights, and I'm sure young diabetologists will take the more difficult path initially to achieve successes and take the country towards a diabetes-free country. That's the dream that you have been harboring, and hopefully we'll go towards managing the disease better. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope that we remain in touch, and we are through you we are able to reach a larger audience and get in touch with more and more diabetologists, motivate them to come and join the movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and hope we can do a lot more together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.